So in the next few minutes, I want to tell you very briefly about some of the work myself and my colleagues in the PRISM research team have been doing to try and improve support in schools for prematurely born children if they may need it. So first of all, why do we need to improve support in schools? Well, we've already heard from Katrina that the research shows that if around 8% of children are born preterm, that means that in an average size primary school class, 2 children may have been born preterm. We also know that the vast majority of preterm born children will attend mainstream school. And that means supporting preterm children is not just the role of special schools or special educational needs coordinators, but it means that all teachers and early years practitioners are likely to be responsible for supporting preterm children at some point in their careers. And that those teachers need to be able to recognise the possible difficulties associated with premature birth, to identify if a child needs support and provide support where appropriate, because as we've already heard, these children may fall under the radar. So to really get a feel for, what parents are telling us is that schools maybe up to that point had been lacking in some awareness of prematurity, and certainly as researchers we very much communicate our results to in medical journals and to clinicians. I guess we haven't been as good at communicating them to education professionals, who are the people that matter to support children in schools. So a few years ago, before we developed our resources, we did a large survey of teachers in the UK. And teachers told us, well, about 75% of the teachers who filled in our survey, they told us that they felt this, if a parent discloses a child's preterm birth history, that would be beneficial for the child. But the difficulty was, alongside that, only very few teachers actually knew what prematurity meant for the child and what that effect that might have on a child's long-term development. And so knowing a child was born preterm may not have been that helpful in knowing where to provide support. We also found out that for teachers, the poorest knowledge of the areas of knowledge that related to the long-term outcomes of prematurity related to the fact that teachers said they weren't particularly aware that prematurely born children were at high risk for attention, for social, and for mathematics difficulties, which, as we've already heard earlier today, are some of the most common difficulties associated with premature birth. And I think that finding was quite worrying, in that we felt that prematurely born children may not be getting the support in the areas they may need it the most. But overwhelmingly, it was really positive. And over 90% of the teachers we surveyed desperately wanted to know more about premature birth and how they can support children in the school so they can try and improve children's outcomes. So as part of the PRISM study research team, our aim was to develop a free online e-learning resource for education professionals, for primary teachers, secondary school teachers, early years providers, to help raise awareness of prematurity in school, to help improve teachers and other school staff's knowledge of the long-term consequences of premature birth, and to provide teachers, most importantly, with practical strategies they can use to support children who have difficulties associated with their premature birth. So to do this, we were extremely lucky to receive funding from Action Medical Research, which is a charity that aims to save and improve children's lives. And we were able, with that funding, to develop our free online e-learning resource. But first of all, we knew it was really important to co-design the resource. So we got together over 24 people in one room for a whole day to tell us what they wanted in this e-learning resource. And this included teachers, teaching assistants, special educational needs coordinators, education professionals, parents of prematurely born children, and young adults themselves who had been born premature. And they told us what they felt the school needed to know. And we collected that information and used that alongside the research evidence to build the content for this e-learning resource. So in 2019, we finally developed, tested, and then released our free online e-learning resource, which you can find on the internet at worldwideweb.pretermbirth.info. It's completely available freely, thanks to Action Medical Research. And it has 5 separate sections in it. And those sections of evidence from the research relate to exactly what I told you earlier this morning. They tell teachers and school staff what premature birth is, how it might affect children's educational outcomes, how it might affect children's cognitive and motor development, and how it might affect their behaviour, social and emotional outcomes. And crucially, the fifth section provides teachers and other school staff with practical strategies they can use to support prematurely born children in school. And these are focused around supporting children who have the kinds of difficulties most commonly associated with preterm birth, as shown there in that picture on the right. So the 6 areas of learning in which your prematurely born child may need support. Before we released the e-learning resource, we wanted to check it was actually useful. So we carried out a study which showed that if teachers use the PRISM e-learning resource, it significantly improved their knowledge of the long-term consequences of premature birth and their confidence in supporting prematurely born children in the classroom. If you go to the website, this is how it will look when you arrive at the landing page. You'll see it's 5 separate sections. You can access them individually, and each one of those is designed not to take too long to complete. We expect it takes around 1 to 1.5 hours to complete in total, but you can dip in and out of it as you wish. And all of the information in there was designed with other parents and with teachers to be very accessible and to present the research in a completely accessible way. We know from some information about who uses our resource that about 50–60% of the people who use the e-learning resource are education professionals, teachers, early years providers, educational psychologists, for example. But we've also found that about 20% of people using our e-learning resource are parents. And in fact, that proportion is increasing all the time. And we've already heard from Katrina that parents have found it particularly easy to use. And we know that parents are finding it helpful in helping them learn about the kinds of difficulties their preterm born child might have and giving them the evidence they need to feel empowered to approach the child's school about their child's prematurity and to help them advocate if they feel their child needs additional support in school. So please do go online at pretermbirth.info and take a look at the e-learning resource. We hope you will enjoy it and find it useful. There's also this summary poster, which is referenced in the PremAware Award, where they ask schools to display this poster. And this is freely available for you to download a copy as PDF from the website. And this is very helpful for you to be able to take this to the school if you want a quick 5-minute elevator pitch, as in why should you be concerned about prematurity and what training is available for free. So I do hope that you will find that useful as parents. And just very briefly, a quick thank you to everybody in the PRISM study team who has worked really hard to develop these resources.